Hello there once again, Dan Earl. Yeah, it's me. However, today I'm not going to be doing any singing. As I've been thinking about this COVID 19 thing and how it's really taken a grip on the world, and thousands of people's fear has overtaken their faith. However, that's not the case with me. And I wanted to share with you some information that I got from Dr. David Jeremiah. And the topic is our sheltering God. And I wish you would take just a few minutes and think about what I'm going to share with you. Now, I'm not a prophet and I'm not the son of a prophet. And I can't tell you what God's going to do with this time of sheltering. But I can share with you what God has done in the past after times of sheltering. And once you review the truth, because this comes from the Bible, everything that I'm sharing with you comes from the Bible. So once you review the truth of history as I share with you, I think you'll know what he's going to do this time too. And some examples would be God sheltering Noah and his family for a year in the ark until Noah emerged to become the father of all nations of the world. He also sheltered Jacob in the home of his uncle Laban, and when he needed to escape the wrath of Esau, his brother. 20 years later, Jacob emerged with a new family, new wealth, new identity, and became Israel, the new name of God's chosen people. He also sheltered Joseph from his 17th year to his 30th year, but his slavery and prison became the school where God prepared him for greatness. He also sheltered Moses in a remote desert for 40 years, and Moses came forth to liberate the Jewish people from Egypt. God sheltered Naomi in the barren land of Moab until she merely became bitter. But she and her sister-in-law, Ruth, traveled to Bethlehem to participate in one of the greatest love stories in all history. He also sheltered David for 15 years after he'd been anointed king of Israel. And when David finally assumed the throne, he was a man after God's own heart, and he gave us many of the Psalms. God sheltered Elijah by the brook Cherith, and after the sheltering, he stood alone against the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. He also sheltered Jonah for 3 days in the belly of a whale. When the sheltering was over, Jonah went to Nineveh and preached history's greatest revival. God also sheltered Daniel for 70 years in Babylon, where he wrote this Old Testament book bearing his name, outlining the future of God's dealing with his people. He also sheltered Esther while in the palace of the Persian king, and she saved her people from destruction. God sheltered the disciples in the upper room for 10 days until the Holy Spirit descended in dramatic fashion to form the church. God also sheltered Paul in the Arabian desert for 3 years, and when he came back, he turned the world upside down. God later again sheltered Paul in the Roman prison, and by the time the apostle was free, he had written the prison epistles, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon. And God also sheltered Apostle John on the island of Patmos. And the book of Revelation, the greatest prophetic document of all time, was given to us. And lastly, and most incredibly, God sheltered Jesus in a tomb for 3 days. And on the third day, Jesus came forth in power to bring salvation to the world. So no, I don't know all the details about what God's going to do, but what I do know is what he has done. And that is what I can count on. The God who sheltered his people in the biblical days surely is not going to stop now. So come what may, I'm trusting in the sheltering God to be my refuge. And I think you can too. And once again, this information comes from Dr. David Jeremiah in the book, Sheltering in God. Take care and God bless.